give it to us. So we're left with no alternative but to get our feet on the ground on the streets of our local towns and demand that action. It's time. Thank you.
Extinction Rebellion.
Yeah, excellent.
Filming live from Taree.
Does anybody want to hold a little bell to create some beautiful sound?
We'll be doing a swarm action very shortly.
Okie dokie.
Give us a shout out if you can hear us okay. Filming live from the riverbank.
Today, no matter what happens, everyone completely non-violent, peaceful and respectful to everyone we encounter. And if you see anyone who's facing any difficulties, we just stop and look after them because we're all crew.
And affects change for the benefit
We're doing a
of the planet
COVID safe
and our climate.
action today here at Taree.
It's time for civil disobedience because nothing else seems to be working.
Please accentuate our 1.5 metre spacing up the roads in single file.
This is a beautiful area. Look at this river here. But it's
We've got a safe COVID safety officer here. We'll be ensuring our 1.5 distance. What other measures are we taking today to ensure that it's
We've got some hand sanitizer here, and we'll be handing that around. We've also got some face masks. Everyone here understands the science, so I think we'll be fine. But we'll be as we walk up the streets. I'll be keeping that.
We're reminding the residents, local residents.
And what if anyone wants to join in?
We really are hurting.
If anyone wants to join in the rebellion today, no, we can't because we're keeping the group at 20 people max. I think we're about 19 now, so yeah, we're just sticking to the law.
We'll be updating as we go along. Andy, what's happening today?
Oh, hello there.
We're live on Extinction Rebellion Australia here at Taree.
Oh, well, it's a beautiful day here today, a beautiful day for rebellion, a beautiful day for us to take the appropriate response, which is what is required when the government fails to act on a very obvious ecological and climate crisis in front of us. So we saw the most catastrophic bushfire season last year, and it's already begun again. We're in the start of September, and the residents of this community, which was dramatically affected by the bushfires, are already starting to feel the anxiety of the bushfire season, which is just beginning again. And they're feeling that anxiety because nobody is taking any action to address the root causes, which is climate breakdown from burning fossil fuels. So today, why don't you follow along? This group, this COVID-safe group of rebels, everyday people, are taking the appropriate response. They're taking the first steps necessary to address this crisis, the most effective steps we have, which is non-violent civil disobedience. So what they're going to do is go onto the road and swarm it and block the traffic for 3 minutes and apologise to the public that they're doing it, but this disruption is absolutely nothing compared to the disruption that people in this community have felt from having their houses burned down, their businesses destroyed, the fear of living of the future, the fear for their children's safety. Now we can hear them singing because this is a beautiful rebellion.
Thank you, Andy. And what exactly is a swarm?
A swarm is an act of civil disobedience where you go onto a road whilst the traffic lights or it might be a pedestrian crossing because lots of country towns don't have traffic lights, and you stay on there and block the traffic for a small amount of time. This might be 3 minutes, one red light cycle. The point of this is that people don't listen unless you get in their way. And we're brave enough, courageous enough to do this because it's what needs to happen. So this group is gathering and they're getting ready to step onto the road in a small country town or a small regional centre.
We're here live in Taree on the mid-north coast of New South Wales. Extinction Rebellion Australia.
Justice now. Got the 3 minute side ready?
We're going to face this. Always show our banners to the people we're disrupting.
So, this is what we're calling,
You've got the 5 minutes.
because of the pandemic, we're organising in small groups. This is a group of 20 or less people. And we have a COVID marshal keeping everybody 1.5 metres apart and being very safe. And the reason we're, and now what we're going to do is go onto the road.
Okay, everybody follow me on.
And we're going to stay
If you
on.
don't want to be arrested, don't stop on the road.
We are in a climate emergency.
Hey, climate justice,
We are exercising our democratic right.
climate justice.
Okay, so we'll be here for one complete light cycle. We won't be moving because we want action on climate change. The politicians aren't listening to Australians that want action on climate change. Our local politicians won't listen. So we're going to be here for 3 minutes blocking traffic because we know that civil disobedience works. We apologise for taking your time.
Just move over this way a little bit, get the distance.
Amanda, can we get a little bit of step? Beautiful. So we apologise. We'll only be 3 minutes. We'll only be 3 minutes. We're so... This is what we have to do when the politicians refuse to listen to the people and the science. And we apologise for the disruption, but we will not be moving for 3 minutes.
Extinction Rebellion live from Taree.
It's Extinction Rebellion in Taree, New South Wales, because the politicians will not listen to us. They will not listen to the 86% of Australians that want strong action now on climate change. So here we are breaking the law so that we can get action on climate change now. Thank you. Thank you. Has anyone pushed the button?
Yeah, it's going down.
This one? Do we feel like going? Okay, let's go.
Make a noise.
Everyone, stop. Follow me.
Rebellion!
Thank you.
Rebellion!
Extinction Rebellion.
Now, if you'd like to switch over, Amanda.
Thank you, rebels.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Okay, come on.
Okay, we've got to get out.
Speed up this front end.
This is easy. What's not easy is living through ecological breakdown. Why are you here today, Sharon?
There's no future for us, with the climate ecological breakdown of the planet, and they're not doing anything. There's going to be food shortages. And it's serious, It's a real the science. We've got to follow the science.
Thank you.
Join the rebellion.
Join the rebellion. We just did 3 minutes on the intersection.
Climate justice.
And
That was easy compared to what we're faced with.
that was easy. Some people were complaining that we were disrupting everyday people, but unfortunately it is the government that is disrupting everyday people by failing to act on the climate crisis that we are in. This community was devastated by bushfires and will be again and again, especially if we don't address the emissions that continue to rise. The country just keeps exporting coal and gas. But the disruption is just minuscule compared to the disruption that the government is wreaking on the citizens of this country.
Extinction Rebellion Australia, filming live from Taree, a regional centre in the mid-north coast of New South Wales.
There's some friendly supporters in the shop there giving us a friendly wave. We don't want to be doing this, but it's our last choice. Non-violent civil disobedience is the most effective way we have to make the change. So what we're doing is we're encouraging people to act from their heart, because we know that this situation is absolutely terrible. We know the government is corrupt, corporations are in charge of the government, and they're leaving everyday people to deal with the consequences of catastrophic climate breakdown. So we have to take to the streets, peaceful civil disobedience in every town, and we're going to build our numbers. We're mobilising across the country. So look in the info on this talk, on this stream. You can see a sign-up form to join the rebellion. I encourage you to join up to the mailing list. And there's also a link to request a mobiliser, because we're actively recruiting mobilisers, and we're actively using mobilisers to support your community have its own Extinction Rebellion group. So check it out. Request a mobiliser right now, and you can be empowered to get the change that we need.
And share that link with anyone that you think might be interested or should be interested. We all should be interested.
We all have to be doing everything we can to protect our world from the climate and ecological breakdown, and from the power of the corruption that has taken over our politics. So what we want is to get our free demands met. But why don't we talk to Paul? Why are you here today, Paul?
I'm here because nothing else works.
Just remember distancing, guys.
When it's getting worse and worse every day, and politicians, far from doing anything about it, are making it worse.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, we'll be swarming onto the next pedestrian crossing. We're partaking in civil disobedience to send a message to the government that we want our 3 demands met. Tell the truth on climate change and act as if the truth is real. Reduce CO2 emissions, it's killing us. And demand citizens' assemblies to make informed decisions on environmental laws. Thank you, rebels. Helen, why are you here today?
I'm here today to try and save our planet and try and save all our precious animals and plants and children and people. And if we don't do something, nobody else seems to be doing anything.
Thank you, Helen. And what have you been through in the last year?
We've had fire, drought. It's just been quite devastating up here, and I think lots of people are feeling the same, but they don't know what to do about it. So we're trying to get the message out.
Thank you, Helen.
Civil disobedience on the streets when democracy fails. And we don't want to be here. We've got better things to do. We want their government to do their job.
And what have you lived through in the last year?
Oh, look, we've had our business decimated. We've had massive inconvenience. So we're asking people to put up with 3 minutes of mild inconvenience so that we can get some action on climate change finally.
And what are we demanding today?
We'll come this way.
I need to see the person who's organising this, and we can get off the road.
There's a liaison officer just there.
So good morning, my name's Paul. I've been nominated for the liaison officer to the police this morning.
Remember distancing, guys.
Social distancing.
So now our police liaison is just having a chat with the local police. We have a right to protest and to assemble. We can meet in groups of 20 people. As you can see, some people in the public are upset, but this is historically what happens, you know. We're not out here to be popular. We're here to get the message out and get the government knowing that it's absolutely unacceptable that they are being led by fossil fuel companies and not listening to reason, science, or the people that want climate action. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society." And that is why we are out here today, because our society is profoundly sick. It is not acting in accordance with the science, and we are throwing the future and all life on Earth away. So civil disobedience is the appropriate response, and we're doing it here in Taree, and we're inviting you to do it all over the country as part of the mass mobilisation, as part of growing the movement that will have the power to get our demands met. Tell the truth, act now to reduce emissions to zero by 2025, and get citizens' assemblies.
Thanks, Andy.
And they're going to get worse. So we want our politicians and our government to act on climate change so we don't have to put up with fires and so we can keep farming into the future. So what we're doing here today is we're doing small acts of civil disobedience to bring attention to the fact that we want action on climate, and so does 86% of Australia, and the government is committing us to suicide by telling everyone that they're going to get us out of this crisis with a gas-led recovery. Let's go. So a gas-led recovery is complete suicide.
We're here to show you that you can protest in small groups in a COVID-friendly manner. Isn't that right, Sam?
Yes, completely. Yeah, we seem to be the only ones social distancing around Taree at the moment. Wearing masks.
So how are we feeling, everyone? Ready to go on again? You go first, Amanda, if you don't mind.
Oh, okay, right, mate.
Well, I'm going this way.
I'll go this way. I'll go this way. Come on.
Okay, to the front of the pedestrian crossing.
Oh, to the front.
Yeah, because you've got to be 1.5 apart. We're making sure that it's a COVID-friendly event today.
It'll only be 3 minutes.
We're only going to be 3 minutes.
To raise attention to the climate crisis that the government refuses to address. Now this climate crisis is here in Taree. We know that the bushfires were mobilised by climate change. We know that our government has no intention of addressing that. Right? We know that 86% of Australians want the government to address climate change. And we know that they're not doing it with petitions. There's no way we can vote our way out of this. So now we're here on the streets of Taree. We're probably going to be arrested today. And everyone here today has made that decision that we'd rather be arrested and taken off the streets for standing up for what we believe in, because we know that nothing else we do matters and that the politicians have no intention of addressing the climate crisis. So here we are in Taree, and we're going to be 3 minutes. So we're going to be 2 more minutes.
Move it on, Mark, move it on.
It's been 3 minutes.
Can you please?
After 2 minutes we'll be moving and you'll be let through in 2
Okay,
minutes.
it's been 3 minutes.
Okay, everyone off.
Road.
So can you tell us a bit about what our community has been through over the last
look,
year?
everyone in this area, if they remember back, it wasn't so long ago when unfightable bushfires were raging through this area, inconveniencing people, burning their sheds, burning their houses, you know, and realistically it's shutting businesses down. And so what we know is climate change is already affecting this area, right? That's what the science and the scientists are telling us. And you won't hear that from your politicians, right? Because they're in bed with the fossil fuel industry and they're in bed with Murdoch's news empire. And they will not tell you that what climate change means is bushfires in Taree. That's what climate change means. And then it means hunger. And then it means war. Right? And you will not hear that from your politicians because they're lying bastards.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Police
report.
So Detective Wilson of the Taree Police has instructed me that if we are to block traffic, that we don't have a Form 1 to previously arrange for the roads to be closed, that you may be issued with an infringement notice. So he explained a little bit of what a Form 1 was. We don't have one. We're not sure that we need one, but he's informed me that if you block traffic, he may issue an infringement.
Everyone keep your distancing, please, as well. It's a non-criminal offence, put it that way. It's a
Kath, why are you here today?
I just don't know how not to be here
So how does
today.
everyone feel about that?
I'm here today because we can call it climate change or ecological destruction or just corruption all the way through, but I'm here because we have a duty to everything that comes after us to do better than what we're doing. And I cannot spend another summer outside while people making decisions sit in aircon and have no idea what we're trying to do on the land. And I'm too emotional and upset all the time to be too clear right now, but we're here because we have to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Kath.
Just edit mood.
He wasn't specific about it. He just said if you were to obstruct.
Here we are in the CBD, Taree, a regional centre on the mid-north coast. We're going to go back onto the road for 3 minutes. Here we have some supporters.
No worries.
Moving on. We're only a group of maximum 20. Rebellion!
Rebellion!
Okay, we're going on for another 3 minutes.
So this is Civil Disobedience Saturdays in action.
Can you time it?
We're blocking the streets just for 3 minutes.
We apologise for the inconvenience. It'll be 3 minutes of your time because the government isn't listening to the science of climate change. And they're refusing to listen to scientists that tell them that we're in a climate emergency and we need our politicians to act now. This is an emergency. We don't want to be wasting your time here. This is a mild inconvenience compared to escalating bushfires, compared to escalating drought. And your politicians have not been honest with you about what climate change means for Taree. So we'll be here on the pedestrian crossing for 1 more minute, performing civil disobedience because the politicians just don't listen to science. And we're thinking maybe they'll listen to this. Because 86% of Australians now want strong action on climate change, and our politicians think we need a gas-led recovery. And they won't listen to me. They won't listen when I sign petitions. Democracy does not working for us. It's not working for most Australians. So when that happens, we do civil disobedience. And that means breaking the law and risking arrest.
Where are we? 1 more minute. This woman is breaking the law.
We have kids in the back of the car. Wow.
Civil disobedience is not popular, but ecological breakdown is a climate crime.
How you going, Alice? Can we come over here and talk in? Hi out there, rebels. We're in Taree today. They're not used to seeing people on the streets of Taree because around here people are pretty conservative. They've believed all the lies that their politicians around here have told them about climate change being a hoax. or perhaps it isn't going to happen in Taree, perhaps it'll happen to someone else, somewhere else, but we know that's not true. We know that Taree burnt last summer from bushfires that were made worse by climate change, and our government is committing us to decades more of worsening climate change. What that means for people in Taree is more fires, right? And then it means more droughts. And eventually it means people that can't grow their food.
So we're participating in a Wave 1 action. Andy, would you like to tell us about a Wave 1 action?
Yeah, so we have a plan for Extinction Rebellion in Australia. We have a plan, and that is to escalate our mobilisation and our actions in waves. So everybody is invited to participate in Wave 1, which is basically actions in your local area. We need hundreds, we need thousands of Extinction Rebellion groups doing civil disobedience like this every Saturday, or not every Saturday, but as much as you want to do it, across Australia. Why? Because it gets media attention, it gets people talking. We apologise for this disruption, but it is nothing compared to the absolute brutality of the bushfire crisis and many other facets of the climate breakdown. So we're inviting you. Do you have an XR group in your local area? Why not? You need to start one. There's a link in this description to request a mobiliser to come help you get an XR group going in your area. Furthermore, Extinction Rebellion is sharing resources across the country, whether you're in Wagga Wagga, Denmark, Western Australia, wherever you are, Extinction Rebellion, you need to have an Extinction Rebellion group, because civil disobedience is the only way we can get the change that we need. It's the most effective way for rapid social change. This is what the social science evidence says. So this is a Wave 1 action. You just block the streets in your local town for an hour or so, for half an hour, on and off, you're swarming. If you want to get arrested, we can arrange that, but otherwise it's non-arrestable action, but it helps build the courage muscle. It's frightening, but it's what we have to do. We are facing such a frightening situation that we have to be brave.
So what do you say to those people who think we shouldn't be gathering in large crowds?
Amanda, we need you back holding because Jed doesn't want to go on again.
Well, this is a group of 20 people and less here in New South Wales, and that's in accordance with the COVID regulations for public gatherings. You can have 500 people go into a local community soccer match though, but only 20 people can gather and protest. So we have to maintain that right to protest. Civil disobedience is our only effective way to get the change that we need.
And what are we demanding today?
We're demanding that the government meets our 3 demands, which is to act now and to tell the truth, and that we don't trust them. So this is just a small act of civil disobedience that people can do across the country. We've already had 2 news crews reporting on us.
Try and get across there that it's only 3 minutes.
So we have to tell people that it's only going to be here for 3 minutes.
So, we're here in Taree. We've been told...
Here we are live in Taree. We are enacting in civil disobedience. Can you tell us a bit about what's going on in the Bulga Forest?
The Bulga Forest is just currently being logged. The plantations are being logged. Clearfell, they're moving into the natural woodland now, and they're going to be logging my habitat, and they're going to be decimating countryside that hasn't burnt, and it's been a refuge for wildlife like me, and it's not going to be that anymore after they've finished logging. So protect the unburnt.
We want to protect the unburnt. They will be logging forests where we have found evidence of koalas that have survived the bushfires. It's a wildlife refuge, and they think it's still okay to go and log so soon after the fires.
Heads up.
Okay, that was 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is a swarm where we go onto the road for 3 minutes and off the... Mic check! Mic check, watch out for the pram! Violet, would you like to lead us in song?
Yeah,
We'll just get have a moment to gather.
Climate action.
This is a COVID-friendly event.
This is a COVID-friendly event. There are social distancing. We've all got masks. We've got hand sanitisers. And it seems like we're the only ones in Taree doing that. Haven't seen any other people with masks on. Everyone's walking in groups, I suppose.
I hear the voices of our children singing climate justice now. People gotta rise like the water. Our future's on the line. I hear the voices of our children singing climate justice now. People gotta rise like the water. Our future's on the line. Hear the voices of our children singing climate justice now. People gotta rise like the water. Our future's on the line. Hear the voices of our children singing climate justice now.
This is a COVID-friendly event.
Yeah, good one, everyone.
Back on.
So what can you do if you want to join mass mobilisation?
Well, you sign up at ausrebellion.earth to the website, and more importantly, you need to get a local group started. If you and a bunch of friends are concerned about the climate crisis and the government's complete inaction, their corruption, then you need to get a group of rebels together and take the appropriate response. Only together can we get the results that we need, which is a safe future. It's terrible, but it's true. It's up to us. It's up to us. So if you go onto the description here on the Facebook post, you can see there's a form, request a mobiliser. So we will help you get a local XR group going and empower you to take civil disobedience and then move so we come in to block the major capital cities, cause the economic disruption that will get the government to come to the table. We have to do everything we can. It's the last hour. The planet is calling for us.
Civil disobedience, and that's what happens when the government refuses to listen to the people and refuses to listen to what the science and the scientists are telling them. The link between climate change and bushfires is real.
We are holding the road for 3 minutes.
So we're going to be one more minute of your time and then we'll be off the intersection again. We apologise for having to do this, but writing petitions is not working. Ringing politicians is not working.
That's right.
And we will not let the government do this in our name. We don't want a gas-led recovery. We need a fast transition to renewables, and we need the transition to zero carbon economy as fast as possible.
You're stopping the free flow of traffic. You need to move off the road now, please. Maybe your lawful road.
Yep, okay.
Okay, we've been 3 minutes.
Our liaison's over there. We'll move off this side right now. Yep.
Off the road, please.
So finally the police are showing up, which means Yep, because for a while they left us up to our own devices. Police liaison is talking with them now. But what we are inviting you to do is to participate in mass mobilisation across Australia and really anywhere in the world. We just need local XR groups acting in COVID-safe numbers to enact civil disobedience. Through sacrifice and disruption, it is the way to get attention when we are clearly failing otherwise. October the 3rd, the Saturday after the school strike, are meeting on the 29th of September, demanding that no gas, we want futures, because currently the government is planning to transition completely to gas, just to put more profits in their gas crony pockets. So imagine this, school strike on the 29th, the following Saturday, groups across Australia are causing civil disobedience. It'll get on all the regional news channels, it'll get national media, and people will be reminded that although we're in a pandemic, we are also in a climate crisis, and we have to...
I don't see any media around, so that's a low point for getting arrested, but we are getting our own footage to send to them. So they will take that footage once we've got it. So if people are interested in sort of starting to push that line of getting that notice, it's an infringement notice, so that's your first fine, and then potentially from there we can escalate to being escorted off, which is your arrest, which is, you know, you won't move unless arrested. So yeah, that's sort of where we're at the moment. I'm keen to hold the ground and see if we can sort of make that sacrificial act.
Can we get a bit of a temperature check on how people are feeling about that?
I'm starting to get a bit hot, but
yeah, which is why I'm keen to like escalate quickly so that we can sort of get the day over with.
so
Yep.
you get a chance to come off if you don't want to be arrested.
That's right.
So maybe the people who don't want to be arrested.
Paul, if you could negotiate one final warning, the people who don't want to get arrested will leave.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
But are we still going to do the 3-minute thing anyway?
Well,
I think if we want to,
What?
yeah, I think
if we
that's
want to escalate, we just stay until they move us on.
So if we say that we're going to do 3 minutes, and
I'll mention. Oh, that's what I'll feed back to the police. Yeah.
that's
Okay,
what we're
so the
saying.
police have started to issue directives that they'll be asking people to move on unless we usher people on and off like you would at a school crossing. And there are some members of the group that have indicated that they're willing to be arrested today because they understand that we're in a climate emergency. Even though the bushfires are over and it's rained, climate crisis continues to rage on. So not only are we in a COVID emergency, we're in a climate emergency, and the bushfire season here is about to start again, and people still haven't fully recovered from their last bushfire season. So the link between the bushfires and climate change has been made absolutely clear during the Bushfire Royal Commission. What we've been told is that as we sell and consume more fossil fuels, produce more CO2, there's going to be more frequent and more extreme bushfires in Taree, all up and down Australia and all over the world, with the brunt of that being borne upon the people who contributed the least to it and who are least able to adapt to it. So the global south will be suffering a lot more than this area will be, and that's just the facts. That's science, and our government has been told those facts, but they choose to ignore them because they've been corrupted by the money of the fossil fuel industry. So Extinction Rebellion has come here in Taree to do Civil Disobedience Saturdays to launch our mass mobilisation. Here we have brave protectors.
Let's go speak to Sharon here, for example.
Sharon, could you tell us a little bit about why you're here with Extinction Rebellion today?
I'm here because the government will not act on climate change. We're in an emergency, we need action. We need it now, we need people to join us, and we need to get on the streets and tell the government we're not going to do this anymore because our children are going to suffer, our grandchildren are going to suffer, there's going to be mass food shortage, everything's going to happen.
And would you say this is more of a moral issue or a science issue or both?
Both. Yes, the science is real, people, and you've got to believe the science.
I know, the science has been told to our government, they just choose to ignore it because they're corrupt. So, Kath, why are you here today?
I'm here because I think we all have a duty to do much better than we're doing. We're all aware of the deception our governments are there you know, it's just we can't wait another summer. I can't watch things die around me constantly and do nothing about it. And yeah, can't not be here.
Yeah, it's an emotional journey. All this deception and denial on behalf of our government, being corrupted by the fossil fuel industry that donates so much to them, buys its way into their meetings, and then dominates the terms of our recovery. Choosing a gas-led recovery right now is suicide, it's genocide, it's omnicide, ecocide. Our government has lost its moral ground. They've lost its way and they've chosen the perceived profits of a tiny few over the moral safety of the many. So I'm here with Extinction Rebellion because I don't believe we can vote our way out of this mess. Politics has been so corrupted. Instead of having a coalition of the Liberals and the Nationals who want to destroy our planet, we now have a three-party coalition all determined to destroy our planet, and we can't vote our way out of this. The scientists are freaking out, telling us that right now all the fires, the droughts we're seeing already are just the beginning of what we can expect. So we know that things are going to get worse, and it's up to us to decide how much worse we let this get. The government is completely incapable of solving this. We need citizens' assemblies, we need to bring back transparent decision-making processes, and we need to take the corruption out of our democratic processes and get the voices of the few heard again, because the elite billionaire class have completely captured our state. The government installed a gas-led commission to tell them that they should invest our futures in a gas and coal-led recovery, which is suicide, and we will not stand for it. We're here to tell people that we will not stand for it. I won't let this happen in my name. I'm a good, normal Australian. The problem I have is that I know the science and I understand how bad the situation truly is. We're in a climate emergency, and in emergencies we do emergency reactions. So we don't want to do civil disobedience, but we're going to have to, because that's what it's come to. Petitions don't work.
We want to live. 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 Who are you? What are you?
A pygmy possum, and I want to live.
Pygmy possums just want to live.
Extinction! Tell the truth! Act now!
Act now!
Emergency!
Emergency!
Extinction!
Extinction!
Rebellion!
Rebellion!
Tell the truth!
Tell the truth!
Act now!
Act now!
Emergency!
Emergency!
Extinction!
Rebellion!
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 Extinction!
Extinction!
Rebellion!
Rebellion!
Shall we move on?
So Donna Holders, how are you feeling about going onto the pedestrian crossing now?
So if you're worried about the climate and ecological crisis, here we are live in Taree in South Australia, New South Wales. Doing another roadblock here, swarming. This is called swarming, where people go on the road, wait here for a few minutes at this pedestrian crossing. Paul's got his sign saying we're only going to be 3 minutes. Isn't that right, Paul? So we have a right to be here. The reason we're doing this is because the government is criminally negligent on enacting on the climate catastrophe that we are all experiencing, and this community got devastated by bushfires last year, and they're already anxious about the start of the next bushfire season right now. Aspen, why are you here today?
I'm here because I feel it's my moral duty to rebel against the gas-led recovery, for my family, for our farm, for the future of all life.
We can't let the government use this moment of pandemic as a cover for instituting more fossil fuel investments, to locking us into an insane carbon-heavy future. Why are you here today, Helen?
Because I'm so sick of our government not acting on climate change, and I think that it's just disgusting that so many species are going extinct, especially in our own country. It's just criminal ecocide in my opinion.
We are here because it's our moral duty to protect those that can't protect themselves, like the animals. We're here.
The newborn babies who didn't have a say in any of this, and they're coming into a world that's going to be so disgusting. I can hardly bear to think of it.
Exactly, exactly. We're here out of a moral duty because our government, who are our leaders, are absolutely failing us right now. This is civil disobedience in action. People are blocking the road in Taree. This is a Wave 1 action as part of Australia mass mobilising in COVID-safe numbers. So this is an action of less than 20 people trying to keep their COVID-safe distance. They're coming to, the police are here, but we have people who are willing to make the sacrifice of getting arrested, of sacrificing their freedom because of the absolute moral injustice of what's going on. Here's a member of the public. What do you think about the bushfire crisis that we've just seen last summer?
I thought that was the worst disaster. I thought I was in the Armageddon. I was really scared for my life, let alone the life of our innocent animals.
Totally.
And people in country towns, in rural country towns. That was very concerning for a lot of people. We come from a beautiful country. That should not have happened. It's never happened before. It was definitely a big awakening for me.
Do you think the government has responded to that? Do you think the people are responding appropriately?
The government's not doing their job, and we all know that.
We all know that.
That's why this is happening, my brothers. They need to get rid of those government members because they're not there for us people, and we know we've been lied to again. And it's like that, you know, we get hit with the bushfires, then we get hit with COVID, and then, you know, we're actually in a terrible place, suffering in our own country. We're in a recession now, they say could last for 7 years.
And this is a prime opportunity for us to actually rebuild in a safe way, isn't it? And instead,
it's a perfect opportunity to get away from the matrix, away from the evil system, and create a new system.
Exactly.
A way better one. Who needs the government? Anyway, we've got each other. We're the ones we're waiting for.
We are the ones we're waiting for.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. We're the true hero, the real warriors in the front line. Like, I've only just come back from Sydney, but I'm down there too. Like, I've got brothers in the military as well, and police force, and a lot of people in the police force, let alone military, are not happy with their government. You know, how many of our military and police and fire brigade, they were real heroes last year, you know, fighting the fires before Christmas. You know, if it wasn't for them, a lot of people's lives would have died, let alone animals that have died.
And here we are with the government absolutely failing to act. Thank you so much for your time. It's done a funny thing where it's given you the sunglasses. So you've had like anonymous sunglasses. Yeah.
I love what you guys are doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You've got my check.
We do.
Apparently he's calling for some more people.
Apparently he's calling for some more people.
And when they arrive,
might
be a safe time to be on the road again.
Might be a safe time to be on the road again.
So if there's
some rebels that want to be arrested
for this cause, in this emergency, then that would be a good time.
That would be a good time.
To stand up for what you believe in.
Stand up for what you believe in.
Woo! Extinction!
Rebellion!
Extinction!
Rebellion!
Extinction!
Rebellion! If you've got a Woolworths in your town, then you can have an Extinction Rebellion group in your town. I challenge all of Australia to have an Extinction Rebellion group taking part in civil disobedience. We start in our local communities, and then we work up to the state capitals, then we work up to the federal capital and or massive centres of economy. Because it's only through shutting down the economy that they listen to us. What we're going to do is get thousands of Extinction Rebellion groups across Australia with dozens of people willing to take part in civil disobedience, a small act of civil disobedience, of sacrifice or more, of getting arrested possibly. And we need many people to support those in that role as well. You see here, there's dozens of us supporting this action. What we're going to build up to is tens of thousands of us in the capital cities sitting down on the roads in a very simple, pure act of civil disobedience. We're going to shut down the economy in those capital cities because that will impact the pockets of the government and the pockets of big business, and the media institutions are all right there, and they will have to talk to us, they will have to listen to us. It's very exciting. From little things, big things grow. And here in Taree, just like across the country where people were taking part in civil disobedience, big shout outs to the people who did actions at News Corp yesterday, dumping piles of manure out there, which is better than they deserve for the lies that they're constantly feeding us. Big shout outs to rebels across the world and for all people, First Nations people, people on the front line of extinction and in action, acts of rebellion across the planet throughout history. This is our moment. The pandemic has given us a chance where society has stopped in its normal ways. The planes are no longer flying, but it's up to us to force the government and society to be more radical and to take control of our world, because we all know that the environment is almost at its last breath, and we're at 1.1 degree of average global warming now, which has already seen catastrophic bushfires increasing across the planet. This is an example of the tipping points in the climate system that mean that we can't take control of the climate anymore, and we're all in absolute peril. Why are you here today?
Well, I'm a local here. I come from just the next town up, Wingham, and last year we were hammered by bushfires, and nothing's happening. You know, there's no reaction. I mean, it's almost like you know, everybody's forgotten. We really need them to tell the truth about what's going on, and we need them to act now to address the climate emergency. And I don't think the current system's working. So, you know, I think a citizens' assembly is the only way to actually make this work. You know, the system's fucked. It's not going to work. It's just broken. Just broken. So we've really got to act now, and we can't the system won't allow us to get any traction by using it now. So civil disobedience is the only action we have left to us.
And can I say, you know, we thought it'd be swarmed with police here doing this in Taree. Instead, the police are doing absolutely everything they can to not arrest us. The police are basically facilitating us taking this intersection because they don't want to give us the joy of being arrested and showing our sacrifice and our dedication to this cause. So over here, the police are letting us take this, that they're deliberately letting us have 3 minutes of the public's time, because deep down they know that everybody needs to hear this message. And I think they all need rebels to come out and say it's okay to talk about this. It's true everywhere. It's not just true in towns that burnt, it's true all around the world, because this is a global problem. Absolutely. And that's why this global movement is popping up in every single corner of every country now. Yeah. Because climate is an everyone issue and it affects everyone.
I need you on the banner.
I need to be holding the banner.
I can take that if you'd like.
Yeah, go for it. We're going to get back on the road, Jay. Thanks for your well wishes.
Can I have that, please? I'm disappointed. Thank you.
I'll take that.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to get back on the road.
We've got to flip sides. Flip.
So here we go again. This is about the 8th time. If you can do this in Taree, which is a pretty conservative town, I'm pretty sure you can do this anywhere in the country. So this is what we'd say is an entry-level action into civil disobedience. This is called a road swarm, and this is what you do when your government refuses to listen to you. When the system is so corrupt that you have no influence on your own democracy, then people take it into their own hands and they do civil disobedience to get the action that they need.
That's right.
And because this has been going on for decades now and the climate crisis is escalating, people all around the country are now taking to the streets in civil disobedience because our politicians and our governments are not listening. They have no plan to tackle the climate emergency. In fact, they think that a gas-led recovery is how they're going to get us through this mess. So when climate change comes, it isn't polar bears, it's bushfires in Taree. That's what climate change is, right? It's our homes being destroyed. It's our farms being destroyed. It's longer droughts. Longer droughts mean farmers can't make a living. That's what climate change is. It's not polar bears here in Taree. It's bushfires and droughts, and then eventually it's famine.
Needs to go through the hospital.
Everyone off, hospital car.
Thank you.
So that's civil disobedience in Taree, everybody. And you'll notice it's a pretty conservative town, but because now 86% of the population have told their politicians that they want strong action on climate change. So this is happening everywhere, right? Because 86% of the people want strong action on climate change, including all the generations. People that want a future for their grandchildren. People that believe that animals have rights, that nature has a right to exist. But the neoliberal system doesn't believe that. It says everything is a resource to be extracted and capitalised upon, forever, perpetually in a growth cycle until the bubble bursts, and we are that bubble. When that bubble bursts, we're gone. We're living in a biosphere that supports all life on Earth. And humanity now is interfering with that biosphere to the point where we risk the existential threat of civilization collapsing due to climate change. This is an emergency we're in. This is now in Taree. The bushfire report said clearly that those bushfires that we all had to live with are directly due to climate change, directly due to fossil fuel burning. And our government thinks that their mates in the fossil fuel industry should get rich off that while we all suffer. And we say no. But we don't have a voice in Parliament, and nobody listens to our petitions. So what we do is get on the streets around our country like people always have when their governments start ruling them instead of leading them, and start leading them in stupid directions. Okay, so we're going back on the road again here in Taree. So this is quite a safe road swarm, but it's a mild act of civil disobedience to start Civil Disobedience Saturdays in Taree, Australia. This is what it takes when democracy fails to give people the safety they need. When your government refuses to do its primary duty, which is to look after the health and safety of its people, then people resort to civil disobedience to get their voices heard, to get the voice of science heard, to get the voice of all the scientists that are telling our governments now that climate change fuels bushfires that burn our houses and our villages and our communities down and destroy our livelihoods. And they're all telling us it's only going to get worse, right? By 2050, 2019's bushfire season will be a low-risk fire season. What that means is 2050's bushfire season will be absolutely catastrophic. They've told us in no uncertain terms that climate change equals bushfires, and it equals less profits for farmers. You can't farm in a never-ending drought, fighting bushfires with no water, with animals dying. But that's what our politicians have done here. They've chosen the profits of a few over the safety of everyone. They've failed in their fundamental duty of a government to protect their people, us, and our communities. And so Extinction Rebellion is popping up all around the world, in every corner of the world, and we're performing civil disobedience because the politicians simply will not listen to us. Mic check! Swarm off, rebels! So So that's how we do road swarming, even in a tiny conservative country town like Taree. It's a national heartland, this place. Most of these people don't even believe in science, let alone climate change science. Although, I think maybe the media makes that story up, because when they're polled, you find out that they all want climate change action. Something like 86% of the people here want strong climate change action. Right, and what's happened is we've been locked out of our democratic processes. Our voices have been silenced.
Mic check.
Swarm on!
Come on.
Swarm on!
Eye contact and smile.
Would you tell us what you're doing here today?
We're enacting in civil disobedience.
And why are you doing this?
We're doing a road
It'll be
swarm.
3 minutes, please be patient.
We're here to demand action on climate change.
Well, I think that's an incredible sacrifice that you've made. It's a noble thing you're doing here today. Have you ever done anything like this before in your life?
No, I've never done a road swarm before, but I feel today this is easy. This is easy compared to the last year that we've been through, suffering with drought and bushfires, with our farming business and our 3 children. It was devastating watching the forest die,
So,
watching the animals drop their babies because they didn't have enough water.
and in terms of disruption, how would you rate disrupting the traffic for 3 minutes versus the disruption of having your farm burnt down or your house burnt down by climate change fueled fires? How would you rate that disruption of 3 minutes on a pedestrian crossing for people putting up with that?
It's very little compared to what we're going to be faced with catastrophic conditions.
I know, and so when the science tells us all that the bushfires are going to be worse and they're going to be back, why do you think it is that regular people don't understand that message? Do you think there's been a failure to communicate from the leaders, or do you think there's deliberate deception there?
The government is tied to corrupted invested interests. They don't want to tell the truth because it won't make them money. And yet,
It's sick, isn't it?
We can move to renewables. Mic check. Mic check.
Swarm off.
Swarm off.
This way.
Come on, everyone.
How are you feeling today, Rebel?
Oh, pretty good, you know, like at the end of the day we're the courageous ones by standing here, and the people that get pissed off, they just yell something but they don't gonna do anything, you know. People are all bite and they're no bark, and we're doing this for them. And you know, this is our first time doing it in Taree, and I think it's been a minorly frightening, but we got to look at the real situation here. Protesters in Iran were being executed. Protesters in Iran are being tortured. Protesters in the civil rights movement got absolutely beaten. Like, although we don't want that, we're a non-violent movement, and we can cop a bit of flack from these locals because we've been in at least 2 media outlets today and we get the conversation started. They say you're going about it the wrong way. They don't have any other better way to go. We've tried everything else. This is what it comes down to.
Yeah, so like I was in a conversation the other day about what's happening around the world at any given point in time now with the climate crisis, you know, and we were sitting there, and in Pakistan there were devastating floods, in India floods.
Hold on.
There was burning in Siberia, twice the size of Australia's fires. Walk across. Mic check.
Mic check. Walk across. Walk across. Woo.
Alright, so we just want to talk about our plan. We just wait for everyone to get together. Is that a crow?
So, what have you got to do to get arrested in this town? Yeah.
Like you said, it was something out of the ordinary. You seemed quite entertained by the day. We
Yeah.
certainly aren't a threat to people.
No, I think they know that. They've seen us go in front of the council and have the mayor come down and declare climate emergency. We had the mayor of this town come down. He was nearly in tears. He told us he had to shoot his cattle in the head, which was the thing that he made him turn around, was when it was his own cows and everyone he knew they all genuinely believed climate change wasn't real.
Interesting, guys.